I'm Andrew Pearce. I'm a objects conservator with the National Museum of Australia.
My name's Peter Bucky. I'm an objects conservator at the National Museum.
I have known that I wanted to get into conservation since I was about 15 years old. I was very attracted to the mix of science and art and history and hands-on skills. My original career was as an electrician with the South Australian Railways.
My name is Natalie Ison and I'm an objects conservator.
Back in the early 70s, I did an apprenticeship as a watchmaker, clock repairer, jewellery repairer, and later on I got a job at the Australian War Memorial, where the senior conservator of the metals lab recognised my skills and asked me to come and look at some pretty tricky issues he had with the horological collection.
I'm more of a generalist than a specialised conservator, but I really enjoy working with glass, and I've also seen very interesting things to do with material coatings which I'd like to explore further.
I look after the really fine technological objects like the chronometers and the watches and the clocks. And I also look after musical instruments, pianos, violins, violas, and we have the odd accordion in the collection as well.
Objects conservators at the museum work on a very broad range of objects. Some of them are as small jewellery pieces. That ranges up to horse-drawn vehicles in size. A very wide range of materials, timber, metal, precious metals like silver, glass, ceramics, pottery, bone, indigenous objects that are feather, clay, carved timber, bark paintings, a really broad spectrum.
I really like working on the chronometers in the collection. There's such beautiful pieces of machinery that we just don't see every day these days. The handmade parts, the identification of each part by a very specific serial number which identifies and actually blueprints that particular object to its originality, its maker. The woodwork, the brass work, the mechanics, the escapements are just so wonderfully designed. They were so far ahead of technology in the years that they were being built.
The wide range of materials we work on presents quite a challenge with getting people who have the skills base needed. We need people with familiarity with indigenous materials. We also now need people who have some understanding of more modern materials like plastics and electronic systems. This is presenting quite a challenge.
Recently I've been working on a vehicle, a horse-drawn vehicle called the Rankin Coach for the museum's foyer area. The Rankin Coach is a style of coach called a landau, which means that it's got two folding, it's basically a convertible. So it has a roof that you can flip down and it becomes a roofless coach. It was first owned by the Rankin family, but then it became a funeral vehicle. And we believe in this time that the roof was then closed and fixed in a closed position. One of the things that we discovered when we were working on the Rankin Coach was that inside the doors, there are two window panes. One has glass in it and the other is a wooden louver privacy screen. And we didn't realise that they were in there until we started rummaging around inside the doors. So one of the things that I found fascinating about these windows, firstly that they come up in two separate runners, was that once they were up, because of the alterations that had been done to the landau part and making it a closed vehicle, once the windows are up, you can't open the doors anymore. So that was very fascinating for us when we were working on the coach. One of the other things that we did when we pulled the windows up was that they were very hard to get out because the runners had been damaged. So we pulled the windows out, cleaned them up, and then also cleaned up the runners to make it operational again.
Main stages of working on the chronometer is to fully document its condition, the case, the movement, its ability to function, and then completely dismantle the whole clock and clean every single part, and then reassemble it so that it's ready for either display or storage.
The work I've been doing on the Rankin Coach has been primarily, or it started off being documentation and condition reporting. But the Rankin Coach is a collaboration between the Objects Lab, the Paper Textiles Lab and the Large Technology Lab. So different conservators have had different things to do to it. My main part after condition reporting and documenting the Rankin Coach was to perform cleaning to the surface and then to also undertake some paper textiles treatments on the carpets and the steps primarily, and also the seat covers.
We have to clean inside the clock because there's lubricants applied to all the working surfaces. The lubricants over years and years and years of being just left alone, as they have been with some of these clocks. The oil actually starts deteriorating and becoming acid, and then the corrosive nature of the acid oil starts deteriorating, corroding vital parts of the clock. After reassembling of the clock and re-lubrication and full inspection of its functionality, the clock can actually be put into a relaxed state for the purpose of long-term storage or for display. But if somebody wants to come and have a look at it, see it go or research its escapement, the clock can actually be wound up and restarted to display its functionality.
I find the work that we do in conservation immensely satisfying. We're very hands-on. We get quite an intimate access to historical objects. But because we're doing the preservation work we are, it also means that people like our grandchildren are still going to have access to the history that we've got now.
The thing I like about conservation is that in my entire career there's never going to be a time when I know everything there is to know. So it's constantly a learning process. There's always more information, there's always new processes, there's always a time when my head is just going to go, I don't know the answer and I have to look it up. So that's what I find really, really satisfying about conservation. Sometimes,
Even with my skills, I need help from other conservators who I rely on very heavily for analysing oils, analysing paint surfaces. There are a lot of shellac surfaces in brass that require some very, very specialist help from paintings conservators. So that's what I really enjoy about working with the collection, is the challenges and also the interaction with other conservators.